Let's move on to YouTube. Robert Kyncl, who's the chief business officer from YouTube, gave a keynote address. Not a lot of news out of it, but a little bit of a surprise that at one point joining him on the stage was Nick Woodman, who's the founder and CEO of GoPro.
Yeah, definitely we weren't expecting that. And yeah, like you mentioned, like YouTube had a lot to follow. This keynote was a day after Netflix essentially stole the show, I think. And I think Netflix is the highlight of CES. So we were hoping to, I think, get a little bit more from YouTube, like some sort of announcement maybe with YouTube Red, maybe some original programming or content, something like that. But really, Robert Kyncl, the first part of his keynote was really just talking about digital video grabbing hold, how kind of cable TV and traditional TV has kind of peaked in 2009 and has since kind of dropping down as people are spending more and more time watching video on other mobile devices. And I feel like we all already knew that. But yeah, as you mentioned, there was kind of a surprise when Nick Woodman, GoPro founder and CEO, came up on the stage. And this is really kind of coinciding with Kyncl talking about YouTube's venturing into virtual reality programming. So this is 360-degree video where you can essentially have a full 360-degree panorama of any video that you're watching. So you can do this on a virtual reality device like the Oculus or Google Cardboard, or even if you're just on a desktop or a laptop, you can kind of scroll around the video and you get really unique perspectives. You can get that full 360-degree perspective. So Nick Woodman was out there talking about how GoPro fits into that. GoPro partnered with Google earlier in 2015 with the GoPro Odyssey, was actually a 16 camera array. So it's like 16 GoPro cameras that capture that full 360-degree perspective. And now what I think is most relevant to GoPro shareholders is Woodman mentioned that at some point this year they're going to come out with a consumer virtual reality device. So obviously that 16 camera array, that's more than $10,000, but they'll hopefully sometime this year, according to Woodman, they'll come out with more affordable kind of mass market consumer virtual reality device to capture that unique perspective. So YouTube is very focused on virtual reality, and it sounds like GoPro is a pretty key partner to enabling that sort of content. So I know our colleague Brendan Matthews, who is also out there, he's one of my fellow analysts in Motley Fool Supernova. He speculated on Twitter, he wouldn't be surprised if Google bought GoPro, because you can kind of tell, there's some sort of love fest going on there. They both have similar visions. YouTube wants to be a platform for all sorts of video, and especially this emerging virtual reality medium. And GoPro is a key player in enabling that sort of content. So it wouldn't be surprised. Certainly, we wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of partnership between the companies. And GoPro is trading at a bigger and bigger discount every day, and Google has an enormous cash hoard. So it wouldn't be surprising if you saw GoPro get snapped up by Google at some point.
That was going to be my next question. At any point, do you think, when it was just the two of them backstage alone, Nick Woodman just leaned over to Kyncl and whispered, "Please buy us"?
Yeah, you wonder, because Woodman, he's a very charismatic CEO, and maybe that could be a fault of mine for getting kind of enamored from his vision for the company, because he's a very inspiring speaker. But man, GoPro shares have just been clobbered over the past year or so. So yeah, you got to wonder, like, man, is Alphabet or Google making an offer to Woodman? Is that kind of the saving grace for the company at this point? It's tough to say, because Woodman, he still owns 30% of GoPro. So whether or not, this is definitely his baby. And so far up to this point, he's been really clear that he has long-term vision for GoPro. So whether or not he wants to sell out, it'll remain to be seen.